Going back to preventative care, what are some ways you can avoid spam links in the future? Like,
I would say like your top 3, be cautious with directories that you use, writing guest blogs, and the last one that I would say is just perform regular tech audits. Perform regular tech audits on your site. For guest blogs, make sure that your blogs are related to your site. You don't want to be writing a blog that's like, say that you are an ice cream shop. You don't want to write a blog about coffee. Coffee's not relevant unless you're an ice cream shop and a coffee shop. That would make more sense.
Affogato.
That sounds amazing.
Exactly. but like if you have a specific industry, for example, we're a marketing agency, so we want to write an article about NASCAR unless it was relevant to marketing in some aspect.
Ads for NASCAR.
Exactly. But we're not going to and I think that's the biggest thing is make sure that the content you're putting out is relevant to your company.
Always.
And that plays into your guys' social media the way that you do, Rachel. And it also plays into the SEO side of if we're writing a blog and it's not relevant to what we are as a site and a company, Google's going to scan over that blog. They're going to look at it and be like, this isn't relevant to you guys. You're just trying to pass on more authority, or you're just trying to write about a trending topic. There's plenty of trending topics within your own industry. I'm sure of it. You can also, if you need to, you can also signal to Google that this is a guest post. What that typically means is using a no-follow link. Basically, that just ensures that you're guest blogging in accordance with Google parameters. Just because you want to make sure that Google's not like, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's like walking with that white flag. Like,
yeah.
We come in peace.
So just to kind of like use some of the parameters, make sure you're following Google guest blogging parameters to make sure that you're kind of following a lot of those best practices.
What is a guest blog exactly?
So
it sounds to me like you're having somebody like write a blog for your site, then you're like, wow, they're a guest. Like,
so in all reality, it is that you are literally on the mark, except what we're doing is actually we're guest blogging on other sites.
Oh, okay.
So that essentially that's passing on information or links.
So like maybe like would like medium.com be an example? Like if we wrote a blog and submitted it there?
It depends, because sometimes you can use Medium as like an extension of your own site. So I don't have a direct answer for you if it would do the same.
Okay.
But more of what a guest blog is more of the, say, for example, Ad Age, great, massive organization. If Ad Age were to write an article about you and your company, or say that I'm writing an article on Ad Age, somewhere along those lines, there's going to be something that's linking or talking about our company.
Okay.
That's just going to go ahead and start passing more relevance. And Ad Age, as you guys know, massive organization.
Right.
They got
That's
massive,
like a good backlink, right?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
They have high domain authority, and that's something else that you can look at. I could go into that portion of it all day. We could talk about guest blogs for hours.
So then, oh my goodness, does that prevent these big companies like Ad Age from talking about like the issues because they don't want to give attention or authority to problematic sites or issues?
It doesn't necessarily prevent them from talking about issues, but because like they don't, for example, Ad Age, if you look at a lot of their content, a lot of the content they put out is about good marketing. And so a lot of what they do, like, for example, I know there was a content creator that I knew from Snickers that had done this really cool post and it went insanely viral. However, it got a lot of backlash. Ad Age ended up making a whole article about it. That article in return now started passing on more authority to Snickers.
Yeah, but we already trust Snickers.
Yes, but that's essentially what you're seeing is like, even if it's a smaller company, if you get the notification or you get the, I would say the notice and you're getting some attention from some of these bigger companies, which are, if you look, they have that higher domain authority. Those companies, if they trust you, they're going to more than likely have no issue with you guest posting on them and writing some type of blog. But again, you have to show that relevance. Yeah. It's almost the same thing as like an elevator pitch. You can't go to like another company or for example, us as a marketing agency. We can't go to a client and if we consistently are awful and we aren't good at marketing, we can't go to another company and be like, hey, we want to take care of your marketing, because they're going to look at us and be like, yeah, no, you guys don't look like you have a good track record. But, and that's the same thing with guest posting. If you're guest posting and other companies are seeing the content you're putting out and it's very strong and good and it's relevant, they're going to have no issue with you guest posting on their sites.
All press is good press.
Exactly. As long as it's well written and it's relevant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Isn't there something that you can like do as well though to like keep your domain from transferring if you don't want it to?
Mm-hmm. So that's the no follow link.
Okay.
So yeah, by doing the no follow link, essentially it just keeps Google from being able to follow that link back. And that is one of like Google's kind of like practices that they want you to follow. Again, like you have your 3 things. You have your guest blogs, directories. Be cautious with those. Make sure you're using relevant ones. Mm-hmm. A lot of the ones I would recommend, Yelp, Bing, those bigger ones, those are kind of directories. Google even has like their own little directory. It's called your NAP, which is name, address, and phone number. Almost forgot the last one. But those are like making sure those are across all different directories. Ensuring that that's all the same exact information is also another way to be able to be on Google's happy side. So, and then again, just make sure you're proactive. If you have bad links, if you start seeing bad links, act on it sooner than later. Even if you just see 1 or 2, it's better to act on it now and clean it up now than being like, oh, well, it's only 1 or 2. Let me just wait till it gets bigger because I don't want to have to like hire somebody to clean this now. I'd rather have like more of a mess.
Right. Our number 1 tip and trick.
Don't wait to have more of a mess.
Don't wait for more mess. Love that.
Clean it up sooner than before it becomes a bigger issue. And finally, once again, when in doubt, consult an expert.
Looks directly.
Seriously, honestly, consult an expert because it can be confusing. It's a very tricky landscape to navigate. And having a team that does it professionally, does it consistently, that's able to collaborate with one another is going to be highly beneficial for you because then you're not having to worry, am I doing this wrong? Am I going to make sure that it's correct?
And there's real penalties with having bad SEO. Like if you have bad social, just no one sees your stuff. But there are real penalties to having bad SEO.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I would say that's our biggest, I would say the biggest tips to give is just really be preventative. Being preventative is going to make your life so much easier. Just because having bad links, it's very tough to clean up.